Look, I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about NASCAR here. There's basically two things I know about NASCAR. Number one is I've seen Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, and I live by this code.
Well, Dick, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
Yeah, that's true. And that's how I live my life. And the second thing I know is that one NASCAR highlight that kind of broke through the noise and hit like mainstream sports audiences. And that was Ross Chastain like 2 or 3 years ago when he did this.
Take a look at what he did.
I have never seen anything like that before in my life.
You made the transfer, man. He like slingshots around the side of the wall, and he like apparently learned that from the 2005 NASCAR game on the GameCube. It's like a video game move. This is his POV.
Yeah, I gotta get him. These two. Keep coming. Keep coming. Hang on, man. Checkered flag. Nice and easy. Keep it up against the fence there. Talk to me, boys. You made the transfer. You made the transfer, man. That was fucking ridiculous, dude.
All right, well, he got 4th place off that and qualified, so it was pretty incredible. The guy he beat, though, the car right behind him was someone I didn't know, but is actually really famous in the world of NASCAR. The number 11, driven by Denny Hamlin. This guy's 45 years old, has been driving for like 2+ decades. I don't think he's ever won a NASCAR championship, but he's like one of the best drivers there's ever been and very storied and very fan beloved. And this is his response to like getting beaten at the last second by a wild move.
Let's do one outside over here. Outside. I guess we just lost on that. Well, I've never seen anything like it, but Bell wins, he's in, and the one Hail Mary defense in 3 and 4 and got it. Wow. Did all I could do, Chris.
I did all I could do, Chris. So he handled that pretty well. He's not a type to get overly emotional. He's a seasoned driver. So to bring this back to business for a second, it's pretty crazy that yesterday he's in front of a jury in a NASCAR antitrust trial and breaking down in tears while testifying. Because right now there is a monumental trial between essentially the teams of NASCAR and the NASCAR organization itself that is going on, and antitrust law is going to determine whether or not they can keep operating the way they are. So who is Denny Hamlin's partner? Because on Sunday, Denny Hamlin drives one of these cars and competes for someone else's team. But on Monday through Saturday, Denny Hamlin is now a team owner, and he helps manage and run a different driver under a different car for 23XI Racing. Now, Denny Hamlin didn't have the money to do this by himself, so he went into business with someone else. Who's this guy next to him? You know how you guys sometimes say that I'm the Michael Jordan of niche economic streamers on Twitch? Well, this guy right here is the Michael Jordan of basketball, AKA the actual Michael Jordan, who after a long career being, this is contentious, but maybe the GOAT of basketball. I'm more of a LeBron guy, but whatever. He's top 2 at least, and making $1 billion from his Nike deal. He apparently grew up loving NASCAR and decided that he wanted to found a NASCAR team. So he goes into business with Denny Hamlin, and they start 23XI Racing after Jordan's number 23. And it's a new NASCAR team started, I think, 5 years ago during COVID that has done pretty damn well for itself. They've gotten some pretty big name sponsors. They've gotten a good driver, is this guy, Bubba Wallace, and they've had some success, okay? And Jordan, after having a few years under his belt in the world of NASCAR, has openly decided to say, hey, this system that this family has created is fucked up. There is no real path for the team owners in NASCAR to ever get ahead. They're constantly losing money. So let's look into it. By the way, this is the family that owns NASCAR. I said they are the France family. They are not French. They just have that name.
I am French. You say you're French?
Oui.
We? No, we are not French.
We are American. Greatest country on earth. No, they're all American. This is Bill France Sr. He founded NASCAR back in the day of dirt tracks and black and white photos. Then he passed it on to his son, Bill France Jr., and then he passed it on to his son, Brian France, who did what every God-fearing American NASCAR executive does and had a big DUI. They found him drunk as a skunk in a car full of oxy, and he was arrested and he had to step down as CEO of NASCAR. So it went back to this guy's brother, Jim France, and that guy is currently running NASCAR. So it's been a family business this whole time. And teams within NASCAR had constantly been complaining that they get almost no piece of the juicy revenue. I mean, NASCAR makes a ton of money, but almost none of it trickles down to the teams, and even less of that trickles down to the drivers. So while a few drivers do well, 75% of the teams, they did a study, a NASCAR funded study, 70% of the teams lose money. And so in 2016, after much complaining, NASCAR finally introduced what they called a charter system. Basically, there's 38 Cup Series races. If you buy a NASCAR charter, you get guaranteed entry into all of them, and you get a share of the TV revenue. It sort of was pitched as like being one of the teams in the NBA or being one of the teams in the NFL. You're like a part of NASCAR. In actuality, according to what we're saying from 23XI and Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, it's really like a chain that binds you to NASCAR and gives you almost no upside. So the economics of it are a little bit weird. NASCAR charges like between $20 to $40 million for one of these slots. Plus, to fund running a car for a season costs about $20 million on its own. So it's like minus, let's say 20 to be conservative, then minus 20 again. And then the payout you get from the share of TV revenue is like 12. So you're guaranteed losing money before any other expenses just to field a car. Now, some rich teams that don't care about anything could do that, but the average team is just basically churning and burning through this for NASCAR's benefit. They're going bankrupt for their benefit. Denny Hamlin says we've had 11 teams go out of business since the charter system was introduced, which is only a few years ago. NASCAR teams averaged $2.2 million loss per car in 2024. Again, that's with sponsorship. So you can make up this gap with sponsorships, but if there's ever a bad sponsor year, the math of it doesn't make sense, and they're still losing money. By the way, if you are watching this and you feel like you are losing money, somehow getting pulled left and right, where you're not seeing where the money's going, you need Rocket Money, because we just renew with them. Thank you, Rocket Money, for being the longest supporter of this channel, the marketing content, the economics of it, the business content. I really appreciate it. Rocket Money is the money app that works for you. You can cancel subscriptions, lower your bills, and track your spending. I use Rocket Money myself for many years now, even before it was at its old name. Basically, you can link your bank account. It shows you everything that's a recurring charge to your account, whether that's Netflix or Spotify or Xbox or AT&T or Amazon or a million other things. I have like 30 Substacks and 40 news article things, and the ones I don't use for a while, it's very easy to find them on there, click it and cancel it. It's a great way to see what you're doing. And even if you think you have a handle on every one of your subscriptions, it's kind of nice to see it in one spot and really think about, do I want to be spending this every month? Just don't cancel the Atrioc sub. So thank you to Rocket Money for supporting. Go check them out at rocketmoney.com/Atrioc. Anyway, back to this. Okay, look, here's all the teams, 15 NASCAR teams. These all guys all bought charters. The charter deal they had from 2016 ended in 2024, and the teams were like, okay, we're fed up. This system sucks. We've been losing money. We have to change something. We need a bigger slice of the TV deal, or we need more guarantees or something. Because the charter, by the way, is completely at the will of NASCAR. They can cut you at a moment's notice. They can change the rules at a moment's notice. You're completely at their mercy, and there's nowhere else you can go if you are a premium stock car racer in America. So when the new deal came around, all 15 teams have been complaining. But all these teams, according to Jeff Gordon here, who's an executive now at Hendricks, but used to be a famous driver himself, he said, look, all the teams are panicked and ready to sign whatever's put in front of them for fear of losing their charters. This is a leaked email. He knows that all these teams, as much as they complain about NASCAR, have nowhere else to go, and they're going to sign the deal because they don't want to get left out in the cold, except for 2 teams. Really, this one only did it because of this one. So let's say one team, 23XI Racing, Michael Jordan's team, because of Michael Jordan's money and Michael Jordan's clout and Michael Jordan's influence and the fact that he can withstand the heat from NASCAR, is standing up and not signing the new charter and opening an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR. Now, here's the thing. NASCAR's revenues, they do send a decent chunk of it to the teams. So NASCAR's revenue split seems decent on the surface. They have these big media rights deals. 10% goes back to NASCAR itself, 25% goes to the team, and 65% goes to the tracks. And that feels like, okay, well, NASCAR's not even taking much of the teams. But then you find out that it goes a little bit deeper because NASCAR quietly over the past few decades has bought up almost all the major tracks. They own like half of all the races a year and have like an exclusive contract with the guy that owns the other like 8. So there's like very few independent tracks, and most of them, especially the big ones like Talladega and Daytona, are owned completely by NASCAR, who gets, again, this massive chunk of the revenue, and then also all the merchandise, all the snacks, drinks, concessions, everything, and in-person sponsors at the events for this stuff. So they're raking in almost all of the cash, and almost none of it's trickling down to the teams, who are, again, putting their money and drivers and cars on the line to try and actually race. Part of this antitrust lawsuit is the legal team from NASCAR keeps pulling up examples of people previously saying like, oh, I love this charter deal. NASCAR is so great. And when you ask them about it, especially like Denny Hamlin, he'll say, look, the reason I have been positive about this in the past is because if you say anything negative, they will call your car in for technical inspection or get you called to the hauler or get you in trouble in some way. They have complete authority, total power, and if you piss them off, you can get blackballed in an industry where you can't go drive anywhere else. By the way, you really can't drive anywhere else because part of this antitrust negotiation is that previously some of the teams in secret, because they hated NASCAR, were thinking about creating their own stock car racing circuit. And they ran into a problem when they realized that all of the major tracks in America have exclusive deals with NASCAR. There's like nowhere else to go unless you want to build out your own, 30 tracks. It is what you might call a monopoly. Denny Hamlin calls signing this deal like signing your own death certificate. You are basically signing up to be bled dry financially until NASCAR kicks you out and places you with someone else so they can keep milking profits. However, there is one guy who might take something like that personally.
You gonna do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that. And it became personal with me.
So Michael Jordan takes it personal and when instead of signing this death certificate, hires this guy, AKA Jeffrey Kessler. This is the antitrust lawyer who's the guy that finally got college players the ability to get paid. He's called the man who broke the NCAA. So he's got a little bit of success under his belt. Jeffrey Kessler gets hired by Michael Jordan, and now he's doing an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR to ideally finally break this one family's billionaire stranglehold over stock car racing in America for decades and decades. The first thing NASCAR tried to do, by the way, is stop these two teams from competing because of this lawsuit. But they got a preliminary injunction, so now they're allowed to still compete. They're still competing right now. They're allowed to compete while the lawsuit's ongoing. So there's a couple things that NASCAR does that came out during this lawsuit. Number one is they use their power over the tracks and the leverage over the tracks to extract a lot of money and make sure there's no competitors for any other racing series. The second thing they do, though, is kind of really fucked up, which is as of 2018, they made this new next-gen car program, which requires every single car to use essentially exactly the same parts that only go from official NASCAR suppliers. And they can change the regulations on which parts are needed at will. That already is a problem because NASCAR is the only person selling them, so they can upcharge the teams. So they can make a mint off the teams by selling them parts they're forced to have. That's one thing, handpicked single source suppliers. But the second thing is they relabeled these parts as property of NASCAR. So you have to spend millions of dollars with NASCAR to buy their required parts in order to compete for NASCAR. But then also they say, if you use any of our parts in your car, you're forbidden from racing in any other event. So like if you ever even touch NASCAR at all, which again is the only game in town, they have completely locked you out through the tracks, through the parts, and through financial obligations and through blackballing to making sure you could never, ever, ever make a competitor or drive anywhere else. You are locked in and you lose money. It's a bad deal, which is why the antitrust trial is still ongoing and they've already classified NASCAR as a monopoly. Kenneth D. Bell, this Giga Chad judge here, goes, the court finds that NASCAR possesses a monopoly power in the relevant market, which is the premier stock car racing team in the United States. Which basically means if you are a stock car racing team, there is only one game in town to sell your services to. You cannot say, I don't like your deal, I'll go somewhere else. There's nowhere else to go. It is NASCAR. And that means they can offer you whatever the fuck they want and take it or leave it. And if you piss them off, they could actually harm you materially. Formula One and IndyCar are not substitutes. Therefore, NASCAR fully controls which race teams can compete at the highest level of stock car racing. It effectively has 100% market share. I think that's true. I don't think if you are a guy that has lived and breathed stock car racing for NASCAR, you can just easily go over to Formula One or IndyCar. I'm not an expert, but that doesn't seem likely. So this trial has been very emotional. You have NASCAR legends being called to the stand, and as of today, Michael Jordan went up there taking the stand, and he made some more points. Now, Michael Jordan has a lot of inspirational quotes over the years. Never say never, because limits, like fears, are often just an illusion. That's really powerful. It's from addictedtosuccess.com. That's my own page. But I think a more apt quote for what's about to happen is Ricky Bobby's, if you ain't first, you're last. Because there's two ways this can go, and this antitrust trial is happening right now. We're going to know within the next few days. Either Michael Jordan and 23XI win, in which case NASCAR is going to have to pay like $300 million in damages. They're going to overhaul the charter system, probably to give the teams a greater cut of the TV revenue and possibly like some sort of permanent status. I mean, what the teams want is to be treated like an NFL or an NBA team, where you have some guarantee of security and NASCAR can't revoke your charter at a moment's notice, pay you pennies, etc. And then, ideally, if they truly flag it as a monopoly, and I'm not getting my hopes up here, they would force them to sell some of the racetracks, to divest. Ideally, you want the racetracks to be owned by a bunch of different independent operators that can create some sort of competition that would allow other, maybe to like open up to other races. Right now, they're all controlled by NASCAR. They get all the money and they have all the power. However, if we don't drive this way and instead NASCAR wins this trial, well, realistically, the main outcome will be that these two teams are dead. 23XI and Front Row Motorsports will almost assuredly not be able to survive economically without a charter. And NASCAR is very unlikely to give them one after this public embarrassing trial that has really damaged their brand. So it's likely they'll be dead, and then NASCAR will continue as usual with a little bit more swagger in its step, knowing they survived. You know, they have precedent now, so there's no way to it'd be much harder to undermine them in the future, and they could act even more aggressively. Now, look, I'm not here trying to cape for billionaire Michael Jordan and be like, this guy's an ultimate hero. He's doing it for his own interest and he wants his racing team to make money. But in general, it doesn't take much to realize that a company with this much market power is going to abuse it. And that's going to have a lot of downstream effects that not only make the team's finances worse, but the driver's finances worse, and even the fans' experience worse. There's just nowhere else they can go, no competition. And so I'm overall on the side of Michael Jordan 23XI here. And it's kind of cool that finally someone came along with enough weight outside the system that they were able to like stand up to what appears to be a relentless campaign of bullying by NASCAR against all opposition. And that's what you're seeing from all these leaked texts and from these depositions at trial, is that most people in NASCAR, if you get them off the record, say it really, really sucks going up against the France family. So that's what's happening. Again, I'm no NASCAR expert. If you're a NASCAR expert and want to add more color to the commentary, leave it in the comments below. But I thought this was an interesting business story, and it's going to break down. It's going to finish up pretty soon. I'm excited to see how that goes. Thanks for watching. Bye.